I hope everything's working. I guess the setup is going to take longer than the actual talk. No. Yeah, first of all, thanks to all the people who spoke before us. I think it's going to be hard to make it up against a demo from Marcin and all these beautiful stories about use cases that we've seen. And because we knew that we're not going to be able to live up against them, we at least brought more people than everybody before us to kind of make up for that. But anyways, I'm very excited to be talking to you today about efficiency in data teams, and we're going to be very hands-on. We're going to be talking about the tooling that has helped us at Taktile to 10x the efficiency of our data team. Before we go into what Taktile is, how we sort of like run our data team on a shoestring, a quick glimpse about myself. I have a statistics background. I joined Taktile. I worked as a software engineer. Now I work as a data engineer, like kind of the all-purpose data guy. And my co-presenter, Serhi.
I am a former engineer who became a founder, then went into product management after losing entirely my entire startup, and then I'm building a startup again. The startup's name is Tower, and what is Tower? We run Python code securely in production. So once you develop your beautiful portable data lakes locally on your dev machine, we help you automate and push this into the cloud to run it recurrently. And why should you care about what we're building? Well, my co-founder, Brad Heller, sits in the audience. Say hi to him afterwards. We've built this stuff before at Databricks, at Snowflake, at Google, BigQuery, and at Puppet.
And you might wonder why are these weirdos together on the stage now? It's not that we just met in the kitchen. It's another one of those DLT office stories. That was the first time when we met at DLT, and then we kind of kept working together from there. And what we worked on was the sort of like data stack at Taktile. So what does Taktile do? Taktile is the modern decision platform for FinTech. What does it mean to be a modern decision platform for FinTech? We bring data, intelligence, and logic together on a platform where non-technical people can actually make sense of those three things. And to do that, we've built quite sizable organizations. Just this morning I checked, we're now 100 people, but the data team at the company is still me and a colleague. So we're just 2 people, and so the challenge really was how can we scale our data platform for the company to be useful. And if we talk about a data platform, what does this mean? I think this is the 4th data platform architecture diagram that we've seen today. So they all look pretty similar. Also for us, we have a bunch of different sources. They're growing week over week. We have a transformation layer on top, we have a visualization layer. So the big challenge for us scaling this throughout the organization was really to scale the source layer. And we're going to look at a very specific example later on. But what really helped us achieve this was DLT through all the nice abstractions that you get, and we've seen examples of this today. That you don't really need to know a lot of coding best practices by heart to write beautiful pipelines with DLT. So that coding best practices is one, and of course also accessibility to data sources that would otherwise not be accessible by commercial offerings. So that's where DLT was incredibly helpful. Today we're going to mostly be talking about how Tower came in to make it even easier for essentially everybody in the company to contribute to the source layer of our data platform. And all of these concepts that we're going to be talking about, or that we're going to show about, evolve around this idea of the Pythonic composable data stack, which itself is built on, I would say, 3 principles. One is the modularity. I really love the slide that that you were showing earlier, where you, like, essentially for every component in your data stack, there's like 10 different tools. And with this composable data stack, you can stitch them all together whichever way you like. The second piece is open standards. Kind of goes into the same direction, but the main benefit of that is you don't have any vendor lock-in. And the last piece is portability. I think it kind of all started with dbt, which really felt like you can bring these tools into your IDE and dot files. Then came DLT, who essentially brought your data pipelines to your dot files and IDEs. And now comes Tower, who brings your runtime to your IDE and dot files. So it's all very like, it doesn't really matter where the stuff runs, in your cloud, on your machine, in your basement, everywhere. So how do these two things fit together? I think we talked a lot about DLT today. It's a portable data lake, and Tower is the portable data runtime. And I would describe it as Docker, Dagster, and Jenkins having a baby. So you get like the nice packaging from Docker, you get like the dependency management from Dagster, you get the scheduling that you get from Jenkins. That's kind of the best of both worlds for Python people. And to be very specific and to actually show you how this looks like, we have an example from sort of like my day-to-day running the massive two-person data team at Taktile. So last month, Sam built, oh, let's call him Sam because it was me. I built a pipeline for Linear, which we use as a ticketing system. And that pipeline is running just fine, but I'm now busy doing other stuff. And Chris, our engineering manager, he kind of took a look at the data and he wants to use it to analyze performance of our engineering team. But he noticed that there is no priority field in the data. And he wants to look at how many high priority tickets are we actually closing on a weekly basis. So what option does he have? Either he has to wait until I have time to fix the pipeline, or he just got to do it himself. And this is where this whole idea of democratizing data throughout the company really kicks in, because with DLT and Tower, he's actually able to do that in a matter of half an hour. And let's actually do some demo.
This is our imaginary Taktile analytics repository. So this is the place where all the source code for our data pipelines lives. So here in the source folder, we have a bunch of pipelines. For example, I've just two here. One is HubSpot and one is the Linear pipeline that Chris is interested to manipulate. They're all laid out as a linear, as a DLT package. This is what Marcin has just shown us. It's like source, the linear source, a warehouse destination, all lined up as a pipeline with two profiles, one for production and one for development. I think with the nice abstractions that DLT brings, and with this declarative way of essentially defining a data lake, it's already much easier for Chris to get started compared to the old world, where this whole ETL routine would have been a bunch of unstructured Python scripts. So these abstractions are already very helpful. There's still two sources of friction that Chris would be running into if he were to start working on his pipeline right now. So what would he do? He would try to run the DLT pipeline. Let's do that. DLT pipeline, linear run. That seems to work. No, it doesn't, because it can't find the linear pipeline. So if Chris would know why this error occurs, which he probably doesn't, he would do the following. He would add the pipeline to his path. And then try again. The pipeline is running. Ah, dang. That's something that I need to prepare. So he would be running the pipeline, and he would run into another issue, which is that the secrets to run the pipeline are not set up. So the pipeline is pulling data from linear API. So certainly he needs an API key. Luckily, there is Tower that's gonna come to rescue with both these issues. I briefly said already that Tower is a portable Python runtime. Portable means all the dependencies that you need to run this little project are specified in a Tower file, and you can run, when you run the entire app in Tower, it bundles those dependencies together. It gives you a consistent runtime, no matter whether it's your machine, the machine of your colleague, or some machine in the cloud. And the second piece that Tower currently features is secrets management. So you can, Tower is a CLI, you can type Tower secrets list. So we see there is the secret that we need to fetch data from the linear API already pre-configured. So everybody who does Tower login into the organization has these secrets available. Now let's just do a Tower run. Tower run means we bundle the dependencies configured in this Tower file together, and we execute the whatever is listed here as our script. And we can do this with a local flag. So as you can see, the runtime gets packaged up. It's usually pretty quickly because everything is cached already. And now we're done packaging the runtime. And we should be seeing the pipeline running in just a second. There we go. So the app, Portable Data Lake, has been launched. Looks like we don't have any issues discovering the pipeline modules, which was the issue that Chris ran into in the first place. Yes. So DLT is running our linear pipeline into the warehouse source. By the way, in this case, I already said we have two different profiles, one for production, one for development. In this case, the warehouse destination is actually a local file system, which is another advantage for Chris, because Chris maybe doesn't even have access to the BigQuery query console. Maybe he has access to some visualization tool that sits on top of BigQuery, but not to the warehouse itself. He can still work with this data because it's going to get loaded, and it's going to get loaded into JSON files on his local machine. So he can verify for himself what's going on. Let's briefly wait for it to finish. So we're loading relationships between issues right now. It's going to take another minute or two. Usually takes like 60 seconds. You can already see how many issues it's been loading already. There you go. And I can see the data is loaded into this local folder. We have issues, we have teams, and we have relations. Now, if we look at this, and if you type priority there is no priority field on any of the data that gets loaded. So this is now has taken us 10 minutes to get up and running. Now what Chris just needs to do is to add the priority field to this to the API query, save it, and run it again. By running it again, he can actually pass a parameter. Which is going to say that we don't want to load all the resources, like we don't want to run all of these 3 resources, but we only want to load issues. So there is like this parameter mapping between Tower and the underlying DLT pipeline. So we run it again. Same thing. Runtime gets built. And the pipeline should run. There we go. This time should be quicker because we're only loading 1 resource, not all 3 of them. By the way, this is also something like when we load this locally, we only load a limited amount of historic data. So in this case, we only load issues created or updated after November 20th. So last week. For production, we can either remove this value entirely to load the full history or set it back to whatever makes sense. So now we can see we loaded exactly one resource here. And if you look at the new table, there's now a priority field associated with every single record. In a real world scenario, this is where Chris's job would have been done. He would file a PR to get his changes merged once he verified that it worked. So let's assume that has happened. And now in the deployment phase, we would create a tower deployment. Oops, tower deploy. What does tower deploy do? It again bundles up the whole code, builds a runtime, and deploys it on Tower Cloud. Tower Cloud is the remote runner for Tower apps. We see there is already the app, our portable data lake already exists. If you go back to our CLI, we just deployed our changes as a new version. So now we can do Tower run --environment production. So a new run for our portable data lake has been scheduled. We haven't defined any schedule in our Tower file, so that means it's going to run immediately. Let's check that that is the case. Yes, it is. So here we see all our app runs. The logs should be coming through in a second. And remember, this is now running the production profile. So these records should end up in our BigQuery. Let's quickly check that currently it's empty. It is, no tables there. So let's check back in a second to see whether everything has worked as expected. And in the meantime, I'm going to give the mic to Serhi to quickly talk a bit about the bigger picture and broader vision of Tower.
So as you've seen, Tower enables you to take this amazing DLT Plus functionality and move these applications to a cloud production environment. We create with DLT Plus, we integrate on the secrets level, we integrate on the profiles level. DLT Plus has profiles, we have environments. Secrets get synchronized between both different members of your team as well as the production and the development environment. You can also override secrets and use different credentials for production. You can run DLT locally and remotely using Tower. I have a couple of examples for how to create and set specific DLT properties that you would use in your configuration using our CLI command line interface. Very easy to do this. We also have several additional features. You can templatize your pipelines and use parameters to launch different jobs based on a single pipeline. You get logs collected into a common data warehouse. You get metrics collected from Cloud Runs into a warehouse that you can then analyze. So it's a great way for you to take an existing DLT Plus application that you developed locally and push it gently, first perhaps in an integration test environment, and then later into a production environment. Simon, let's check the BigQuery data set and our pipeline.
Yeah, let's see what we got here. Too many open tabs for sure. Okay, so this is, Sergey talked about logs. Here we can see the logs. Linear pipeline is running into the warehouse. It looks like it's still running, so I don't want to bother you for too long. I hope you take my word for granted that this will actually end up in BigQuery. I can assure it will. And then Chris has all the beautiful data he needs to go after his lazy or very productive engineers who are closing out high priority tickets for the company, because the data team doesn't want to do that. Yeah, I guess you can find us after the demo. You can find Sergey to sign up for a private Tower beta. And you can find me to talk about data pipelines, FinTech, and we're hiring data scientists, so whatever.